And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to Daytona International Speedway for the highly anticipated return of the second season of the NNSCRA Hershey's Cup Series. We're getting ready here now for our practice session for the Great American Race Daytona 500, getting ready for Daytona Speed Weeks. Now, we're going to be having two practice sessions because this season there are 62 total drivers in this series, which means each week we're going to be having 20 drivers going home. And so it's going to be very, very interesting. We're also got a new qualifying system this season. We've also got a new chase system this season. So a lot of new stuff coming our way, and we'll have to see how it all plays out in the outcome of the completion after 36 races. We're going to have these drivers practicing for just about 15 minutes. Several drivers you can see very quickly heading out on track to take advantage of this as they'll look to try and qualify themselves on the pole position for the Great American Race. So we'll jump to... Well, that was weird. All of a sudden cars disappeared. Anyway, Aaron Henderson in the number 6 will be where we'll start off, as we'll try and introduce everybody in this first group, and then we'll introduce everybody in the second group. Now, what you're seeing here are going to be two different heats. These drivers that you're seeing here in this first session are going to be in the first qualifying session every single week. And then the second group you see will be in the second qualifying session every single week. As Aaron Henderson, we'll start off with him. He's one of several rookies this season. He'll be driving the number 6 machine out of Roush Fenway Racing, just now moving by Carson Scott back in the number 38 Great Clip Chevrolet for AS Racing. Keep in mind, AS Racing, both their drivers finished second and third here last season in the Daytona 500 behind Ryan Acosta. Dylan Young back in the white Miller Lite Deuce for Young Motorsports. Young Motorsports coming in with a slightly new look this season. 3 rides, all chartered machines, and Dylan Young trying to see if he can pick up his first win of his career in Hershey's Cup. His teammate JT Bryant already has a win in this series as they work their way around Cody Lamas, the number 78. Now, this is the ride that won the Daytona 500 last season with Ryan Acosta, but back then it was a Chevy. Now it is a Toyota Camry out of Joe Gibbs Racing. Cody Lamas also comes in this season as a chartered ride, as last season when he drove for Joe Gibbs in the 20 car, he was not a chartered machine. He had to race his way into each race via knockout queues. So different chain of events for the driver of the Furniture Row Chevrolet, or make that Toyota this year. Just up ahead is Ryan Madden in the 8. There's a big cluster of drivers up here. Ryan Madden drove the 88 last season. Didn't exactly have the best of seasons either. Now this season running for Sega Motorsports. And he is a chartered machine as well. And to his inside, another driver who's a chartered machine that wasn't last season, Kyle Matthews. Last year, the only race that he was confirmed locked into was the Daytona 500 1 year ago. He got involved in a wreck, had to find his way back into the top 35 in points, never did, and was involved in knockout qualifying every single week for the remainder of the season. Leon Alvarez, another chartered machine, back in the number 9, but last season it was a Chevrolet for CJ Racing. This season, it's a Dodge for Bulldog Motorsports. Newly formed Dodge Dart team by owner-driver Zach Rogers, and got a couple of chartered rides out of that stable, including this 9 car of Leon Alvarez, who was a former winner last season, let's not forget. James Qualls back in the number 70, this time with Castrol GTX on his car, driving for the newly formed Joanna Atwood Motorsports. James Qualls was much like Kyle Matthews, had to race his way into every single week's main event. This season, though, he's a chartered ride, so he'll be in the Daytona 500 and every other race for the remainder of the season. Side-by-side battle here between a couple of returning drivers. Jessica Shelton in the 02 Tampa Bay Rays Chevrolet. Now, one thing that when I was talking to her, and as well as Kyle Matthews, Charles Sanford, their goal this season for Retro Racing Enterprises is to find victory lane. Last season, they were so close so many times to picking up their first victory, but were unable to close out the deal, they're going to try here this season with all 3 of their rides chartered to try and pick up their first victory in their career in the Hershey's Cup Series. Joshua Circuli did find victory lane last season 3 times. 2 times during the regular season, 1 time during the chase. However, this season he comes in a non-chartered ride. So he's going to have to race his way into each week's event. So certainly a tough break for a driver who was a chase driver last season. Driver the 47 this year for William Brock Motorsports. Keith Batson makes his debut in the Hershey's Cup Series. A rookie this season in the Fanta Grape Ford, driving for the newly formed team of KAB Racing Enterprises. Behind him, another rookie, Garrett Snyder, in the 88 car. Or Garrett Sidner, I'm sorry. I keep messing up that name. Garrett Sidner in the 88 car. One thing that I should mention, too, this season, not only are we having driver points, but we're also going to have rookie points and team points. So, some new stuff happening here in the Hershey's Cup Series. Brandon Gonzalez, the Mitsubishi Lancer, is back. A brand new look on that scheme for that number 23 car. Brandon Gonzalez, a chartered machine this year as well for Gonzalez Motorsports. Moving to his inside is a rookie, the 44 of Elijah Gordon, driving for Red Dragon Nation Motorsports. That is a non-chartered ride. Now here's a ride that was coming into this season, was a chartered machine. Seth Cole returning for a second season, moving from the 52 over to the 80. Looks like Kyle Matthews just blew up here in this session. But Seth Cole was supposed to have a charter. However, he gave up his charter to his rookie teammate, Cole Baker, who we'll see in the second heat race, or the second heat session, I should say. So Seth Cole will not be a chartered ride this season. He will have to race his way into each event. His teammate, Cole Baker, however, will be in each event. Levi McIntyre, driving for Young Motorsports this season, leading in this group. Back in the familiar number 99 Steak and Shake WWE Ford. We'll see how he does now, no longer in a single car ride, but with teammates that he may be able to get some equipment from. He had a pretty stellar season last year, was top 15 in the points for a majority of the second half of the season, so we'll see how he does here this year. Jake Baskinger drove the number 95 to victory lane 3 times last season. This season, switching the numbers from 95 to 59 and moving to the Dodge Dart team of Fitzwater Australia Racing. So we'll see how he does in a 3-car Dodge Dart team. To his inside, Austin LaPlante, rookie this season, the number 48 Chevrolet out of Sega Motorsports. Dylan Poteet back in the number 31. Now, Tweenix Racing had a lot of drivers last season. This season, though, only 2 drivers, Dylan Poteet and his rookie teammate James McLeod, who we'll see in the second heat race. Austin LaPlante's teammate and team owner right behind this group, Trent Dunham, back in the number 1, the Sega Chevy SS. There's another driver out of KAB Racing Enterprises, Kat Tellier, a rookie in the number 35. And there's a second entry out of Joanna Atwood Motorsports. That is Stephanie Gardner. Now, Joanna Atwood Motorsports is a Chevy team. However, this is a satellite team they put together, a Dodge Dart, for Stephanie Gardner to run here in her rookie season. O'Neill Balvin, another rookie for O'Neill Balvin Racing, the 04 Amp Energy Chevrolet. That's a single-car team this season, non-chartered car. Joseph Srigley is a chartered machine this season, and he's actually formed up his own team, Srigley Racing Enterprises. And he's got 2 rookies, one of which is actually in this group, Matthew Dallio in the 30. He's also got a rookie in Austin Mongold in the 95, and then Emmanuel Hartnett, former winner last season at the Glen, in the 97 for his team. We'll see Mongold and Hartnett in the second heat. There's Zachary Fitzwater. Saw him in the number 76 Ford last season, trying to qualify his way into races. Well, this season, he's a chartered ride in a Dodge team. He's an owner of a Dodge team now. Teammates with Jake Baskinger in the 59, and rookie Dougie Shears, who we'll see in the second heat for Fitzwater Australia Racing. Oh, okay, actually Austin Mongold is in this field, this first heat race, in the number 95 Cheerios Chevrolet out of Srigley Racing Enterprises. So, see how he does in his rookie season. Daniel Voiles, much like Brandon Gonzalez, he is a chartered ride this season, but driving in a single-car race team for World Sports. Mercedes-Benz is back. There's a couple of drivers in this group that we haven't talked about. One of them on the high side there, the dustless blaster Toyota Camry, number 87 of rookie Zachary Stoltz, driving for Fire Ice Racing. We'll see his two teammates in the next heat race. And new look for the defending champion, Anthony McCrory, back in the Audi, but driving with the Rolex Schnee sponsorship on his Audi A4. To his high side, we talked about Matthew Dallio, a rookie this season for Srigley Racing Enterprises. There he is in the AOL Chevrolet SS. See if there's anybody back in this group that we haven't talked about. Looks like we've covered everybody here. There's Benjamin Miles back for a second season in the number 25, former chaser from last year. Was a former winner as well. His win, I believe, came at Kentucky. Back with the 25 car, but not out of Hendrick Motorsports this season. He's actually in a single car ride with NW Racing. So we'll see how he does in his second full-time season with that team. Looking further back here, seeing if there's anyone I missed. If there isn't, then we can start focusing on lap times. And it appears I have covered just about everybody. So let's see who was the fastest so far on track. This could play a huge factor into the qualifying session. And the fastest car on track is the 35. Right there, Kat Tellier. 44.433 fastest lap. Right there to her inside is Stephanie Gardner, who is second fastest, 44.485. So right now, two females in this field top the leaderboard in speed. That it's O'Neill Baldwin, Leon Alvarez, Joseph Srigley, then LaPlante, Fitzwater, Poteet, McIntyre, and Matthews are the top 10 fastest cars. A little more than 2 1/3 minutes left, or a little less than 2 1/3 minutes left in this session. Now, the question I would wonder is for Kyle Matthews, is that fast lap before or after his engine exploded? Because his engine let go coming out of turn 2. So you got to wonder if that's a lap time with a backup car, if that's the lap time with the original car they had, because they're undoubtedly going to have to make an engine change. That engine looked like it was pretty much dead. Kat Tellier has run 16 laps. Stephanie Gardner has run 14 laps. And there's O'Neill Baldwin, third fastest on track. He has run 15 laps. So they're just around the same amount of laps run for the three of them. And let's see the lap time this time by for Tellier as opposed to her fastest lap. She's about 8/10 slower now than she was on her fastest lap. And Kyle Matthews just dropped out of the top 10. I believe James Qualls just jumped up to 8th. He did. His fastest lap of the race, or of the session. Run right there at 45.237. Jumped him up to 8th. And dropped, I think it was McIntyre out of the top 10. Yes, it was. McIntyre and Matthews. These drivers, their goal right now is to try and have at least one of the top 12 fastest cars on track, because our qualifying session will be consisting of, in the 2 heat races, the 2 heat sessions, the top 12 in speeds will move into a 24-car session. Then the top 12 in that session will move on to the 3rd round, and they will determine the first 6 starting rows. Of course, we'll determine our Daytona 500 pole sitter and outside pole sitter, and then from 3rd on back will be determined in the Can-Am duels. Session's about to come to a close here as well. So these are going to be the two fastest cars on track, the 35 and the 82. Both females, both rookies. Kat Tellier and Stephanie Gardner. Session should be coming to a close very shortly. And when it does, we'll see here, as you can see, actually rookies sweeping the top 3 fastest laps in this practice session. And then 5 rookies in the top 10, with LaPlante in 6th and Mongold in 10th. About 7 seconds remaining for the cool down lap. And session should now be complete, as looks like Kat Tellier is going to bring her car to pit road now. They don't want to tear that thing up. That's a fast Ford Fusion. So as we look on down here in this practice session, Kat Tellier the fastest on track. Stephanie Gardner was 2nd fastest, then O'Neill Balvin, Leon Alvarez, Joseph Wrigley, Austin LaPlante, Zachary Fitzwater, James Qualls, Dylan Poteet, and Austin Mongold. Then Levi McIntyre, Daniel Voiles, Kyle Matthews, Elijah Gordon, Zachary Stoltz, Cody Lamas, Keith Batson, Dylan Young, Anthony McCurry, and Garrett Sidner completed your top 20. As you look on down through the remainder of the drivers. To your slowest cars on track. Brandon Gonzalez, 45.9 and 46 flat, pretty much. Almost a 46.1 for Benjamin Miles. So they're definitely going to have to do some tweaking, try to get those cars a little bit faster for the qualifying session. But next up, we get ready to introduce the second half of the drivers for this season in our second practice session. Don't go away. So now all drivers from the first practice session have had their cars pushed back to the garage area. They'll begin preparing them for the qualifying heat. And now the second group of drivers will head out on track for their 15-minute practice session. First car off track already is rookie Dougie Shears. We saw his 2 teammates, Zachary Fitzwater and Jake Baskinger, in the first practice session. And Dougie Shears, the 3rd entry out of Fitzwater Australia Racing, on track in the 21 Dodge Dart. There is one driver that is confirmed in the qualifying session that will not be out here on track. They have elected not to put the car out on track for practice. It is still back in the garage area. That is the 96 car of Noah Cars, making his return to this season. Although he will not be a chartered ride, even though he is a returning machine, or a returning driver, I should say. And the number 96 car will see him and the 96 car in the second heat qualifying session. We will not see him here in this practice session. So Dougie Shears, a rookie this season, making his Hershey's Cup Series debut. There's a couple of cars coming off track, 2 of which we've seen before, but they're in brand new looking rides. Actually kind of ironic. Emmanuel Hartnett returning to the Hershey's Cup Series. The car behind him is the car that he drove last season. This season, however, he's a team owner of that ride. Emmanuel Hartnett's driving the number 97 for Swigley Racing Enterprises, the Newegg Chevrolet number 97. However, he is the owner of Fire Ice Racing, which John Cittadino is driving for this season in Emmanuel Hartnett's old ride. So, how ironic that the ride that he used to drive and the team that he now owns is running right behind Emmanuel Hartnett. John Cittadino moving from the single car team of Cittadino Ed Motorsports over to Fire Ice Racing in the number 83. Teammates to rookie Zachary Stoltz, who we just saw. We'll also see his other teammate in this session, the number 93 of rookie Marie Manobi. We'll see her in just a moment. There's the number 20, another rookie this season, the Toyota of Marty Johnson, driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. We'll see how he does this season. That ride, of course, last season driven by Cody Lamas and was a go-or-go-home ride. It will be again this season with the rookie. They moved their way by former winner last season, Zach Flickinger, who is a chartered machine this year. Zach Flickinger driving for Flickinger Motorsports. Remember him going to victory lane as a go-or-go-home driver at Lime Rock during the chase. Back in the same U.S. Army Chevrolet, as he'll look for win number 2 here in season number 2. There's Dylan Poteet's teammate, rookie James McLeod in the 51 Target Chevrolet out of Tweenix Racing. Tim Walsh, moving from the 15, now over to the 5. Tim Walsh was a chaser last season, ended up going to victory lane early on that season at Atlanta Motor Speedway, now driving the 5 car for Michael Norman Motorsports. We'll see his 2 teammates in this session. Rocco Twyman makes his return back to the Hershey's Cup Series. However, Rocco is not a charter driver this season, driving for Bulldog Motorsports in the number 19 Stanley Tools Dodge Dart. Rocco Twyman was a former chaser last season when he drove the number 11 Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's getting passed right now by a returning Dallas McIntosh back in the number 16 car. McIntosh with Cheez-It on the sponsorship of his Ford this season. Dallas McIntosh is a chartered machine. He's the only chartered machine for Roush Fenway Racing this year. He was a go-or-go-homer last year. We saw the 44 of Elijah Gordon for Red Dragon Nation Motorsports in the first practice session. Well, here's the second rookie driver for that team, Joe Rockingham, in the number 84. One of 2 teams completely comprised of rookies this season. The other one is KAB Racing Enterprises, who will see their 3rd car shortly in this session. Nathan Hudson is going to be a teammate to Tim Walsh, who we just saw. Hudson running a Chevrolet this season. Attack on Titan, his sponsorship, for Michael Norman Motorsports. So we'll see how Nathan does. Nathan Hudson, of course, a former Daytona 500 winner in the Budweiser All-Pro Series, another NNSCRA series. So we'll see how he does here in his first season in Hershey's Cup. He'll be battling for Rookie of the Year honors this year as well. He is not a chartered ride. JT Bryant, former winner last season for Young Motorsports, makes his return back to the 22 and back to Young Motorsports. So we'll see how he does in his second full-time season. His win, however, last season came when he was in a Dodge Dart. So he'll try and pick up his first Ford win. John Arndt was a runner-up in the Daytona 500 last season, with his teammate Carson Scott finishing 3rd. So we'll see how Arndt does in his return to the 24 for AS Racing. Chris Dowd. Saw him last season driving the number 46 car. Had a number of top 5 finishes, even though he was a go-or-go-home driver. Well, this season he is a chartered machine, driving the 08 Wrangler Chevrolet here for the Great American Race. John Andrews, and one of my favorite paint schemes this season, the Sunny D Ford Fusion for Roush Fenway Racing. He's a rookie this season. He'll be making his debut, trying to qualify his way in, battling for Rookie of the Year honors, along with the 2 drivers that just bypassed him. Kyle Keith out of Sega Motorsports, the number 42 Target Chevrolet. And just ahead of him, the number 72 of Jason Haywood, which is that 3rd entry out of KAB Racing Enterprises. William Brock, the number 15 car. And I just noticed that's a Toyota. Apparently when I put it into my game, I thought it was a Chevrolet. It's a Toyota. Well, it's going to be a Chevrolet in the qualify session. I'll make that switch. I apologize for that. I thought, for people that may not know, my NR 2003 actually reset itself, so I had to put cars back in and everything. And I thought this was a Chevrolet. It wasn't, so I will make the swap to the Chevy car for William Brock, since he is a driver in a Chevy team for William Brock Motorsports. So pretend that's a Chevy. Just humor me. Zach Rogers comes into the season, rookie season, as owner-driver for Bulldog Motorsports, driving the number 39 Snickers Dodge Dart for his own team. He is a non-chartered ride as well. He does have a couple of drivers in his arsenal, though, that are chartered machines. Leon Alvarez and Grayson Acavito, who we'll see shortly. Johnny Gardner, number 27 Chevrolet. We saw his teammates Stephanie Gardner, who was second fastest in the practice session, the first practice session, and James Qualls, who I believe was 8th fastest in that session. So Johnny Gardner this season moving from Young Motorsports over as co-owner of Joanna Atwood Motorsports. And he is a chartered machine this year as well. Will not have to try and qualify his way into every event. There's Grayson Acavito, we were just talking about. Number 66, Mopar Dodge SRT Dodge Dart out of Bulldog Racing. Acavito last season drove the 43 car, the Smithfield Farmland Ford Fusion this season in a Dodge Dart and will be locked into every race. Holden Gluba makes his return to the series, a winner last season at the Glen, and Gluba back in the number 55 Toyota Camry. And that is out of Joe Gibbs Racing, like it was last season after Michael Waltrip Racing folded up. Pichu London, the number 29 Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet for his own team of TA2 Racing. He's a rookie this season, as is Cole Baker in the 18. But as we mentioned, Cole Baker was given Seth Cole's charter, teammate there for Seth Cole Baker Motorsports. So Cole Baker is locked into every single event this season, which is going to give him a huge advantage in battling for the Rookie of the Year title. Davey Johnson, the number 46, teammate to William Brock, who we just saw moments ago. Davey Johnson, a rookie this season in the 46 car. Pilot Flying J, the sponsorship on his Chevrolet. We just saw John Cittadino earlier on. There's Charles Sanford, the third entry out of Retro Racing Enterprises. Driving the Los Angeles Angels colors here on his Chevrolet. Of course, Major League Baseball's opening day was a couple of weeks ago, and therefore Charles Sanford driving the LA Angels, his teammate Jessica Shelton driving the Tampa Bay Rays colors here for the Daytona 500 this season. There's the 11 of James Richardson, being helped by fellow Toyota in the 93. Now, Richardson is a returning driver. Drove the 6 car last season. This season, moving over to the 11 for Joe Gibbs Racing. However, Richardson... Oh, no, never mind. Richardson is a chartered car. So he'll be in the main events all season long. And then there is Marie Manobi for Fire Ice Racing, the number 93 car. There are going to be 3 Dustless Blaster Toyota Camrys this season. John Cittadino in the 83, Zachary Stoltz in the 86, and Marie Manobi in the 93. So it'll be hard to tell them all apart, except for the fact that only one of them is a chartered machine, that being the 83 of John Cittadino. There's another driver we haven't talked about, the returning Joshua Michaels, back in the number 10. Now, Joshua Michaels was a former winner last season at Pocono, but spent the majority of the season as a go-or-go-home driver. So he will be a chartered machine this season. So we'll see how he does driving for his own team of Rage Motorsports. See if there's anybody that I have not yet talked about. There's one, the 3 car of Michael Norman, back for a second season. He was also a go-or-go-home driver last season. This season, a chartered ride. In the number 3 car, his teammate Tim Walsh just behind there in the 5. His other teammate just ahead, the 7 of Nathan Hudson. So the 3 M&M drivers have found each other here in this session. 2 Target cars working together there, but they're not teammates. Kyle Keith and James McLeod, they'll be battling for Rookie of the Year honors. And it appears I have introduced everybody here in this session. The only driver that you have not seen that will be in the second heat race session with these other drivers all season long is the 96 of Noah cars, who we will see when the qualifying session comes around. Let's see who's the fastest on track out of these drivers. And wow, rookies topped the leaderboard in the first session, and they've topped it in this one. The fastest car on track right now is John Andrews in the number 17. And then Jason Haywood in the 72 is second. James McLeod in the 51 is third. And Kyle Keith in the 42 is fourth. So 4 rookies top the leaderboard. The highest running returning driver, well, was John Arndt, and now Dallas McIntosh just jumped up to 5th. And they are 3 wide here in this group. Oh no, don't go forward, they're gonna wreck! They wrecked! Nathan Hudson, Jason Haywood, and John Arndt all just wrecked. Hudson was 10th fastest, Arndt was 7th, and Haywood was 3rd. And now, the question of whether these 3 would have to go to backup cars for the qualifying session could be a factor. There you see Arndt. And there is Hudson, clearly damaged as well. Arndt appears to be off the pace. Haywood appears to have gotten backed up to speed. I think the one that sustained the most damage out of all that might have been the 24. Boy, Joe Rockingham right now 6th fastest. Got JT Bryant, he's 8th fastest. Zach Flickinger 9th fastest. Drivers that we haven't mentioned that were up there in the top 10 in speeds. But the session now comes to a close just seconds after we had a wreck there of them trying to go 4 wide in the tri-oval. Hudson, Arndt, and Haywood receiving some fairly significant damage. Looks like the fastest car in this session will be the Sunny D4, number 17 of rookie John Andrews. So a lot of people might be looking at him to top the leaderboard in the qualifying heats, which will be coming up next. Session should now be coming to a close. And nope, 30 seconds left for cooldown. But it really, I don't think will change the speeds. So John Andrews tops the leaderboard. Kyle Keith 2nd. Jason Haywood in 3rd. We'll have to see if they go to a backup car or not. It's a very fast car they've got, and I'm sure they would love to keep it, but all depends on how damaged they are. Then James McLeod, 4th fastest. So rookies sweep 4 of the top 5 spots. Holden Gluba was the 5th fastest car. And so that would be the highest chartered machine. Dallas McIntosh 6th, Joe Rockingham 7th, John Arndt 8th, Flickinger 9th, and JT Bryant was in 10th. As you look on down through the remainder of the field, Dougie Shears, who was the first car on track, slowest in this session with a 47.017. It was a very slow lap time. A couple of chartered cars down here didn't run very well either. Johnny Gardner 25th, Grace Lacomino, Chris Dowd, and Joshua Michaels 25th through 28th. So we'll see what they're able to do in the qualifying session. So that does it for our practice session. Introduces you to everybody that will be taking part in this season. Next up, we'll be having our qualifying session, where we'll be having the first heat race, top 12 move into the second round. Second heat race, top 12 move into the second round. Then those 24 drivers will battle for the top 12 speeds, and then those final 12 will determine the pole sitter and outside of the front row driver for the Great American Race Daytona 500. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this race, this practice session, I should say. If you did, be sure to give us a video, like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We'll see you guys next time as Daytona Speed Weeks continues here on the NNSCRA Sports Channel, offline racing at its best.